we're gonna go ahead and get started. We've got a few people in here, and it's 7:34, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. But a little background for everybody watching. Meredith was my first client. She's been with me for 8 months now. And when she came to me, it was a pretty typical case of chronic off and on dieting. So you told me the very first time we talked, you've tried everything under the sun,
Hmm.
like right, Weight Watchers, keto, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
And just like a lot of people, you lost weight, but then gained it back, and then lost weight and gained it
Hmm.
back, and everything had kind of seemed to stall out completely, and you didn't really know what to do. And
Yeah.
so then you came into the program, and we worked on the lifestyle change things, um, and to get you to where you really needed to be. So my
Yeah.
first question is, what was the biggest difference you saw starting out, with kind of the lifestyle change method compared to previous diets?
Well, I think the first thing that was different was I wasn't immediately thrown into here are all the things that you need to do 1,000 times a day, and try and just be perfect with it. Um, and the first few months were pretty much focus on your protein, make sure you're getting your protein in, and make sure you're getting plenty of water in, and just kind of learning how to fuel your body, because I think what had happened over all of these different diets that I had tried in the past was, um, it was just about like not eating, like, or not eating bad foods, not eat these good foods, don't eat these bad foods, only eat this amount of calories. I had really gotten like almost obsessed about the amount of calories I was eating a day, or if I had an off day, like I would just like totally sink into this, like, I can't do it. And so one of the very first things that I guess, I mean, almost like, because we had to kind of increase my calories at first, right?
Yep.
Um, I was a little skeptical. I was like, I can't eat that many calories and not like gain a bunch of weight. Like, I think that was my biggest, like, I was nervous a little bit. But you're like, no, you need to fuel your body. And you were absolutely right. Like, I felt so much better just being able to kind of focus on the basics and like actually eating and not feeling bad about eating. Really helped me get my mindset right from the get go, so that when we did get to the point where, hey, we're gonna cut your calories, I knew that I wasn't like, I knew I felt good about where I was starting because I'd had all of that background before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the very first thing we did was the psychology portion,
Mhm.
because you did have a lot of food anxiety, a little bit.
Mhm.
So like the first month, that's what we worked on. And for everybody watching, if you fit into this boat of dieting on and off again, and now you're eating very little calories and you're scared to eat more, that's exactly what you need to do. Whatever you're scared to do there is what you need to do.
Mhm.
And I think you might have gained like 2 pounds, 3 pounds, if
Yeah.
that, over
I
like,
don't Over the grand scheme of things, I lost some weight, I gained some weight, but like I feel like right there when we started cutting, like I had gained like maybe 1 pound
yeah,
after all of it. But I was eating so many more calories, I felt amazing.
yeah. I think you went from 1,700 or so to like 22.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was over for everybody watching. That was over a course of like a few months. We got to
Hmm.
that. It wasn't like I just threw you into that 22.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, that was huge. Um, Before you really got into the lifestyle change aspect, how confident were you in like a lifelong health aspect?
Well, I wasn't very well. I've always known like what I need to do. I feel like I've always kind of known I need to be healthy, right? And I've always been focused on being healthy. Um, However, I wasn't confident that I could ever maintain it or keep it going. So like I would start Weight Watchers. I've done Weight Watchers like I think three different times, and I was confident that I could get Weight Watchers to work. Like I had been on Weight Watchers and I could lose the weight, but the problem was is I always gained it back. So it wasn't so like I guess I needed to be confident that I could maintain it, because all the other ones that I had tried, I wasn't confident that I could maintain it because I had lost and gained that same 20 pounds over the last like probably 20 years of my life. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, ever since I've had kids, really, I've just lost and gained, lost and gained. I mean, even to the point like some years I would just go 1 year I'd gain gain 15 pounds and lose 15 pounds in this
Yeah.
same 12-month cycle. So I guess I wasn't very confident, but going into yours, going into like when we were going into the fat loss, like this January, I was ready. I was like I was super pumped. I was ready. I felt like I was going to go into something and number one, not feel like I was starving. And number two, that I knew kind of what I needed to do ahead of time. Because I'd already been like practicing for a few months
Yeah.
beforehand to really get my mind right. You know, that,
Yeah.
oh, if I have a bad day or, oh, I drink a beer, it's not that big a deal. I'll wake up the next morning and still eat
Yeah.
my fruit and granola and my yogurt or, you know, my scrambled eggs. You know, it wasn't like, oh, well, I was really bad on Friday, so now I'm going to like binge the whole weekend because it didn't matter because I
Yeah.
didn't feel confident that I could keep it up. Whereas this has felt more, I have more confidence going into it, um, because of the work that we did in the first part.
Yeah. Yeah, can we just take a minute to appreciate that you said you were pumped to start cutting calories, which is
Yeah, I
never
was.
the case for most people.
No, I was like
Um,
so ready. I'm pretty sure I told my family and some of my friends, like, I'm so ready to just start. Like, I was pumped because, like, I knew that I was in the right. It was just it was the right time, the right fit. I was
mhm.
ready to go.
Yeah. But on the other hand, last week you did say you were so ready to stop cutting calories.
Mm,
So
I did.
it isn't a
I did.
lifelong thing there.
No, no, I am definitely ready to go back to my maintenance calories. Mostly though, because one of the things I have noticed through this process is I think because I felt so consistently bad for so long. Like I woke up tired, cranky, my stomach hurt all the time. I had a lot of stomach problems. So for a long time, I just always knew how it felt to feel bad.
Mhm.
And so really working on that in the beginning, feeling better, getting my stomach in order, feeling good. Now I know exactly what that feels like. And when you cut your calories, you do feel a little bit more fatigued, just a little. Not it hasn't been crazy, but I like feeling super strong in the gym. I
Yeah.
like eating lots of food, and knowing that I'm not going to gain weight is pretty. I mean, that's the goal, right?
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the gym a little bit, because a lot of
Okay.
people don't necessarily think about building muscle or getting in the gym. They just think about the weight coming off.
Hmm.
How was getting in the gym this time and like building muscle? How did that change your perspective around it?
Well, I think that I don't know if you remember this, but in the very beginning, you asked me what are some like I like to work out. I work out all the time. I think you asked me what I like to do to work out, and it was mostly cardio. I like to run. I like to walk. I like to burn as many calories as I can in a short period of time. And I probably said that to you.
Yeah.
Um, and you were like, "Well, what about lifting weights?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've done that before. I had, but I wasn't like something that like I was gung ho to go, you know, do." But you started me off really simple with, dumbbells and, getting just the basics, the foundations of lifting weights. And then like, as I started like going to the gym at first, didn't feel daunting. It didn't feel like I was, somewhere that I wasn't supposed to be, if that makes sense. And then also, um, by the time I started like really getting into it and lifting weights, I felt like super strong. Like, I think at one point you had asked me how many pounds I thought I could lift, and I had said something like 50 or something, and it ended up it was like 85, and I was like super pumped. I was like, I could lift
Yeah.
way more than 50 pounds.
Yeah.
So you build even more confidence every time I go to the gym. I get even more confident. And I feel good and I feel strong. And I jokingly picked up my 13-year-old the other day, and I don't think he thought I could do it. But he's not like super big or anything. He's pretty skinny little 13-year-old, but I was pretty impressed. He's still over 100
Yeah.
pounds.
Yeah. No, the first that I remember that question, I asked how much you thought you could deadlift.
Yeah.
And you did say you were like, I don't know, like 50 pounds.
Hmm.
Um, I was like, okay, that's fine. I knew you could do more. And I just put on weight until you feel like you
Yeah.
can. And you messaged me and were like, I think it was like 225s on.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how much that is. What is that, like 70? It was 95.
Yeah.
There you go. So
Yeah. And
and
now
so
95 feels easy.
yeah, yeah. And that's the big key with the lifting, which we've talked about a bit, is just you have to keep pushing yourself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you've never gotten there before, it's daunting to actually increase the weight, but that's the
Mm-hmm.
way you're gonna build muscle and feel
Yeah.
stronger and better as you move forward. Um, so that's great. And my question about lifting, because you built a lot of muscle,
Mm-hmm.
and your initial goal, weight loss goal, was more than what we've stuck at here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're still very happy with the way you look. Uh,
Yes. So, and you can just say the numbers. I'm okay with that.
yeah,
I originally told you I wanted to get down to 125. Which my body, I mean, I've been less than 125, but my body really, before that's has been a weight that I have felt really confident in with the way I look. I'm not there. I'm at 135, but my measurements are the same as they were when I was 125. And it's because it's 10 pounds of pure muscle. I'm convinced. I feel so much
yeah,
stronger. So I know I lost, I think, a total of 15 pounds over the course of the when
yeah,
I was cutting calories. Um, but it's not just about the weight because my body is completely different than it
yeah.
was at 135 before.
Mhm.
Um, and it feels good.
Yeah. The yeah, so she went from 149 or 150 to like
Hmm.
135, 134 right now.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna clarify for everybody, it took 8 months to get there because she needed that reverse diet. It wasn't like she came into the program and I was like, okay, we're gonna drop 15 pounds in a few weeks. We could have for sure,
Hmm.
but you wouldn't feel confident in maintaining that for life. So it took, I think, 4 or 5 months of building muscle, reverse dieting. Everybody's different, so I don't think this is how long it's going to take you, but 4 or 5 months of building muscle, reverse dieting, and then finally in January is when she decided it was ready. She was ready to go into that deficit. We've been in a deficit from January until now. So everybody's going to be different, but that was just Meredith's journey there. You
Hmm.
said outside of the weight loss, you were happy with the way your body felt. You talked about how much less your stomach hurt. What were the
Hmm.
big changes in your life outside of the fat loss?
Okay, so I have had a lot of stomach issues my entire life. And my stomach constantly hurts. And I do have a little bit of anxiety, which I'm sure brings that on. But I really think that because we were focusing on um I lost my train of thought. What was the question again?
What were the biggest changes outside of the fat loss in your life?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So number one, my stomach does not hurt anymore. Thank you. Um, I I had just it's always bothered me. I've had a slew of stomach issues even since I was a little girl. And it wasn't like it happened overnight. I think you and I talked a lot about my stomach issues, especially in the first two months. But I would say about month three, I really noticed that like my stomach does not hurt as bad. It doesn't hurt at all. And I think it was because I was eating better foods. I was eating things that um work better with my system. I mean, I don't think it was like I don't, the correlation is I was eating healthier foods, therefore my
Yeah.
stomach doesn't hurt as bad anymore. Um, Also, I know I've talked to you on several occasions about drinking. I Once COVID hit, like, and we were at home on lockdown. I mean, there was no reason for me not to have a drink with my dinner every single night. Or I think my really big habit was, oh, I'm about to start making dinner. I wanted a glass of wine or a glass of bourbon as I just chopped my vegetables or I fixed my my dinner for the night for my kiddos and my family. Um, and it was a constant. But it guess what? Alcohol also makes my stomach hurt. Surprise! It's not necessarily good for you. Well, I mean, in moderation, everything you can have everything in a little moderation. And I would say over the last and actually, you at first, I remember you saying like, just have a drink every night. If that's what you're doing, have a drink every night. And I did. But then I just slowly like realized I didn't need it as much. Or I read a book too about atomic habits, and so I
Mm,
tried to change something out. So like when I would go to make dinner every night, instead of fixing my glass of bourbon or my glass of wine, I would drink a seltzer, like a little seltzer water, because I was drinking so much like just plain water that the seltzer water kind of felt like a. And yeah, at first you're like, this is not bourbon, like
Yeah.
it. I mean, your
Yeah.
brain, but eventually, like I got used to it, and I found myself going straight to the seltzer. Like, it's time for me to have my seltzer water. It's
Yeah.
5 o'clock somewhere. And then I still every now and then have a drink, but I'm not doing it every single night like I was. Just like everything, eating a donut every single morning can become a habit.
Yeah.
Drinking a glass of wine with your dinner becomes a habit, and I have quit doing that. I drink on occasion, but I haven't been doing that. So my stomach's much better. My sleeping is much better. My alcohol intake has decreased dramatically. I walk. I definitely get more steps. I think one of the very first things I told you was it hurt to like. I just didn't. I would work around ways to not have to go upstairs in my house when we moved
Hmm.
to Indiana, and I'm not saying I don't always want to go up there because I don't want to see how dirty my kids' rooms are, but I don't think about it like, oh, brother, I have to walk upstairs again, like I used to, because I am more energized, because I'm sleeping better, and because my stomach doesn't hurt, and like all of those things in itself. Like, if I hadn't lost a single pound, those things were worth. I think those things are worth more, honestly,
Yeah.
than even the weight that I've lost. Because I've built muscle, I feel better about moving around.
Yeah.
And so I think all of those things. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. Um, oh well, when I first started, I was on anxiety medicine too, that I have slowly weaned off of. And that's not. I don't know that that's everybody's story, but I was taking a little anxiety pill every day, um, and I don't have to anymore. So that is something that I have also eliminated from my like needs through this health journey.
Yeah. The that was one of the big things we talked about a lot at the beginning, I think, was because we weren't losing weight, it was like increase your
Hmm.
calories. You had that anxiety around increasing calories. And
Hmm.
so we talked a lot about, well, how do you feel? Well, how do you feel? And that was like the question that I kept repeating, because that really is the biggest thing, is how you actually feel. And you might not lose weight, but your clothes might fit better. You're going to
Yeah.
sleep better, and you'll eventually lose weight if that's happening. Those are just the
Right.
indicators on the right track. So everything was fantastic. That was, I mean, the first few months we were together, I think every couple weeks you had something like that in
Yeah.
our ones, and I was just like, yes,
Yeah.
stuff like
My
that.
wins weren't
So
like I lost a pound, but it was like, oh my gosh, I like felt I woke up and like didn't feel tired. Like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
yeah. And for everybody watching, Meredith, eventually, after a few months, it turned into kind of like she would come to me and be like, I did this week. I hope that's cool. And it was like switching out the alcohol for seltzer. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's what I was going to tell you to do a couple weeks from now, but sure. And so
Yeah.
eventually I turned into like her coach on, okay, let's move our calories here, move them back up here. And she did it kind of everything herself, because that was the main goal that I had, was to teach you how to, take control and understand these things for you to make the change. So my final question is, do you feel that, throughout the program you learned enough to make changes continuously and maintain your health for the rest of your life?
Yes, I do. And actually, you and I had this conversation maybe like maybe I think maybe about a month ago. We were talking about, hey, you've kind of you're close to your goal weight. You've about to hit your goal weight. It was like going to be the end of a month. It was like April, I guess around April.
Mhm.
And we were talking at the beginning, and I was like, well, what kind of workouts do I do? When do I do this and when do I do that? I have questions about when I leave, or when I'm, stop, with
Mhm.
you. And you were like, well, we'll get there. We'll get there. And then like, now that we're here, I think I said to you the other day, like,
Yeah,
I'm ready to be on my own. Like, I love Tyler. I've enjoyed my time getting to talk to you and like this whole process, but like, I'm also ready to be like, I can do this on my own. I don't need
yeah,
you, Tyler. Yeah, we're like, it's a natural. I mean, I didn't feel that 4 weeks ago. And I think that it's like, when
yeah,
but I do now. Like, I'm actually excited about like thinking about and looking up other workouts that I can do that I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
Or I'll see somebody in the gym doing something. I'm like, oh man, I think I would like to try that in my workout. And so I'm looking forward to branching out and
Yeah,
seeing what happens. And then the world is not oyster, hopefully. Although
for
I don't
sure.
like oysters, but
Yeah. Well, some other
some
clam
other
shell creature.
wonderful thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for answering all those questions. I really appreciated having you as a client. And I hope
Thank
that
you.
everybody kind of in the live learned a little bit about what the journey should look like and it should feel like. Um, because it should be, easy compared to a diet. And it should teach you what you need to know to maintain. If there's any questions,